Okay, I think I'm live. Using this new webcam uh, feature on YouTube takes longer to go live than the old Google Hangouts. Don't know why that is, what can be read into that, but I get a little spinny thing for much longer saying going live, and so it potentially catches me by surprise when it does go live. Um, but live we are. Hello, Miss Foxification. First in the chat. Nice to see you. Tuesday night. Survived 2/5 of the working week. Is that a line about you don't hate Mondays, you hate capitalism? It's like, yes. Well, I guess so. Uh, Garfield wasn't enough of a revolutionary to say he hated capitalism. He just said he hated Mondays. And he had no job to go to. What was his problem? Ah, Miss Foxification, you had to reload twice to get it to start. I see. Maybe it is playing up. Who knows? Hi, Catherine and Musical Aviator. You think people who like Fridays are weird? Oh, Saturdays were. I like the end of Friday, like being home from work, being able to kick back with a drinky or two. That's what I like. Um, but yes, it is what it is. Yeah, it's weird. It's like it's not like I hate my job. I don't. Um, but it's just like, ugh, it's such a drag being a cog in the machine, basically. News go about it. On Friday, have dinner at 5, then go to bed. That is not a thing I do. Not that I'm a real party animal or a particular night owl, um, but yeah, I like to do a few things on Friday night. Miss Foxification, if we took Mondays off and had a 4-day week, then we just hate Tuesdays. And of course, I guess for 4-day week was adopted. The big question would that be like rotating? Would like okay, if we take the Monday to Friday 9 to 5, I think that's still the most common work cycle. Although I could be wrong. Um, so would all the Monday to Friday crowd would they work the same 4 days, or would we rotate those 4 days across a whole week? I don't know. Who knows? I see what you mean is flexification. If it was just you who had Mondays off, then you wouldn't have to put up with the Monday complainers, and you just rock in on Tuesday. I can see that. No, that's a good bit of lateral thinking, quite honestly. That's pretty good. But I think we all need a bit of creative thinking in various things. You're saying you should give up a day's pay. I mean, I think I would probably be as productive in a 4-day working week as in a 5-day working week. Should get paid the same, because I think my productivity would be the same. It's just the 5 days sucks a bit of life out of you, basically. And if you had less time in the job, I think the time you're there, you'd be more productive. I mean, I remember going for a job interview years ago. I probably won't name who it was, but even in the interview stage, they were basically going on about they worked long hours, like they're always there 9-10 hours plus every day. Like, they weren't looking for someone who's gonna go straight after, 8 hours is up, and they're working 10 hours every day. And I just, this was an IT related job. And I just said, look, in terms of working extra hours, if there's a deadline, like if it's crunch time, if there's like something that has to be finished to hit a deadline, of course you put in extra hours. Everyone puts in extra when critical crunch times. But if you're sitting here telling me you're working long hours every single day, something's fundamentally wrong. Something's broken, and you need to actually address the fact you've got a problem. And they didn't take that very well. They told the agency afterwards, "Oh, I didn't want to work long hours," and I said to the agency, "Correct, I really didn't." I mean, I didn't even. I don't know if I even mentioned to them. It's like, virtually every study that's been done of this type of work shows how people's productivity starts to go down after 6 hours. Uh, um, but yeah, after 8 hours, it drops off like precipitously. So these people who think they're being martyrs working 10-hour days, it grinds them down and their productivity goes backwards and backwards. So you end up, if you're working a 7, 8 hour day, uh, you're almost definitely more productive than someone who's working 10 plus hours a day, because they're just grinding themselves into the dirt, and they lose mental acuity, they lose the ability to focus, uh, and basically they get stupid. Being stuck in a job for extended hours, which of course is going to eat into your downtime and probably your ability to sleep, uh, makes you stupid. But then, there's this sort of, oh, slavish dedication. I'm working these really long hours. I must be good. No, actually, I just think you're really bad at organizing yourself, quite honestly. No, Catherine, your phone's not working. You got a message not to go in, but you didn't get the message, so you went in. No one said, "Oh, that sucks." Wrestling Days. Hi, how you going, Big Pat? Yeah, there's nothing quite like messages going astray. Um, the but I mean, I know I currently it takes me, like, I'm driving into work, and on average, it takes about 45 minutes to get there. If I did public transport, it would take more like an hour and a half, and I don't feel like doing that. So I'm driving, because it's not in the city, I'm in the suburbs, working in the suburbs. If I work in the city, I almost always do public transport. Well, for two reasons: 'cause driving in the city is a hassle, and second, parking in the city is ridiculous, like just ridiculously expensive. So don't do it. And but yeah, because I'm working in the suburbs, I am driving, because I have to sort of, do multiple changes of public transport. And yeah, I worked out it would take an hour 15, an hour and a half each way, and that just seems like too big a drag. So I'm driving at the moment. But yeah, I would hate. I know it takes me 45 minutes. I know I've known people who, take an hour and a half to even 2 hours to get to work. And I'd hate to do that and find out when I got there that no one was there. That would suck. Big Pat, how am I today? I am fine and dandy. How are you, big man? Timothy, I should start a gaming channel. I don't really have the time, quite honestly. I was actually gaming just before coming on. I played half an hour or so of Borderlands before uh, coming in. The original Borderlands, the Game of the Year edition, where they uh, amped up the graphics, and so I was playing that a little bit. Shoot me in the face. All right, sorry. I just realised you're quoting the Psycho lines from Borderlands. Oh God, Catherine, okay, you're using a prepaid, and for some reason, I don't know. I mean, obviously it is happening to you, but that's surprising to me. I wouldn't have thought the phone itself would affect when you get the message. I would have thought that's just the network, but clearly, um, somehow the phone is being a shit. That really sucks. Pax over feels. Hello, yes, I am well. Timothy, am I going to get The Last of Us 2? I haven't played The Last of Us 1. I know everyone says The Last of Us is a good game, and I've seen previews of Last of Us 2, which look very good. But the other thing is, I can't really afford to spend a lot of time gaming. I have enough trouble keeping up any content on my YouTube channel as it is, and I like gaming, and uh, I would like to spend lots of hours doing it, but then then there's stuff I want to watch on TV in this golden age of TV we have now, and I want to do stuff on YouTube, and I really can't. I worked out like three things is too much. I've had it before. Like I remember way back in the early days of YouTube when I was producing a lot of content, and people saying, "I don't know how you keep producing regular content." Like it's between YouTube and gaming and watching TV and going out. I can't keep up. I go, no, you can't. You cannot keep all those things up. Something needs to go, and I chose to let gaming go mostly. I still do a little bit of gaming, but I let it mostly go. Uh, you have to sacrifice or sleep. As that old Shin Comics thing of looking at his busy day with work and recreation and slots for eating and sleeping, and holding something trying to slot in gaming. Oh no time to fit gaming into my schedule, and then looking at the bit of logic to sleep and start thinking, or is there? Sleep could suffer to do it, but then you suffer generally. I know we all think we're non-stop dynamos, and sleep's the little death and is a waste of time, but it does not take you long to stop functioning at peak efficiency if you're not sleeping properly. Um, it is certainly something Mrs. Angry's into because she is a psychologist, works in public health, and people with poor sleep patterns often suffer poor mental health outcomes as a result. And so she's very big on sleep hygiene and whatnot. She's a big believer in, despite everyone saying they don't need that much, she's a big believer in if you don't get 8 hours or close on average, you'll start to suffer pretty quickly. Catherine, I do a video every day challenge this year. I kept thinking I was going to do it. Where are we up to? July. So I missed my chance to do vagina. For those who missed my love for ridiculous puns, if the month starts with J and I try to do a video every day, I make it an acronym, a video every day in January, June, July. If nothing arises, which that acronym could be pronounced vagina. And because I'm really juvenile, I like that. What's the other one? I did it in October. That was video every day in October. That was videos. June, July, August, September. That's months off. Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad challenge to occasionally try and do a video every day, just as a discipline thing. I haven't done it for a while. I don't think I've done it this year. Might not have even done it last year. I don't remember. But yes, I may well do that. It's good to have a sort of challenge. Yes, Mystic Aviator. I do agree not needing sleep would be a superpower. It would extend your life by a third if you did not suffer at all from not sleeping. Um, your life would effectively be a third longer because you wouldn't lose a third of it to sleep. Uh, but you do make a good point. 3 a.m. and 3 degrees Celsius, bed is just warm. Although, yeah, I guess you just dress warmly or whatever. Yeah, yeah, and I have to admit, I'm spoiled and in a relationship, so I'm sleeping with someone, and that's nice. That's even as I like sitting with Mrs. Angry, sleeping is good. Rachel says hi. Hi, Rachel. How are you? Oh gosh, I think I have Miss Fox question. I have taken sleeping pills once. I have this vague memory that I had some issue and I actually needed sleeping pills, but I might have been imagining it. I remember uh, the people from a shared house. My girlfriend at the time was a nurse, and she was sharing a place with another nurse, and that had trouble sleeping because of working janky shifts, very uneven shifts, and sleep pattern getting mucked up, and then not being able to be sleeping at all between shifts, and then being really shit at the next shift. So it's like, oh, got a sleeping pill, and I know it was a really strong prescription, whatever it is, and she took one once, went to sleep, and then when the alarm went off, she woke up and was like, oh fuck that, I'm never doing that again. I was like, what's wrong? You slept? And she said, that wasn't sleep. That was just lost time. It's like I took the pill, I lay down and I closed my eyes, and then I opened my eyes and it was morning, and there's no sensation of sleeping. There's no sensation of passage of time, and it was weird and freaky, and I'm not doing it again. Adele, you're not very late. I've only just started. You shouldn't berate yourself. I've only been here like 15 minutes, but very nice to see you. Pugwash, yes. I do hate the rainforest. I'm on Bolosano's side, and we're going to destroy the Amazon rainforest and all the indigenous people who live there. Jesus, scumbag. It's like there's so much shit going on in the world. It's easy to remember Brazil elected an outright fascist who said he wants to murder all the gays and rape all the women and destroy the Amazon rainforest. That's cheery, isn't it? Now we're just like, stuck with things like Trump getting more and more overt in his racism and just that really special mix of stupid and racist that he has. And he's just whipping up that base of mouth breathing racist fuckwits. Uh, it's really disturbing. He's he. I mean, I'm assuming that Representative Ilhan Omar has private security because she's Trump is going to get her killed. Trump is just whipping up these insanely stupid people who are very prone to conspiracies, and he's whipping them up. Uh, he's going to get her killed, basically. Oh, Catherine, no, I meant Amazon, the company. Pugwash was making a joke about the rainforest, so I just went with it. No, because the Amazon, at least some of the Amazon factory workers are on strike for a whole bunch of reasons, but front and center is Amazon treats its staff like shit, and it's absolutely horrific that the wealthiest man in the world, Jeff Bezos, treats his absolutely treats his staff like garbage. It's horrific. It's absolutely horrific what they do. Yes, Ms. Foxcash, yes. Trump, for those who missed it, Trump decided these four young, non-white female Congress people should go back where they came from, back to their shitty countries. If they're so sure they know how to make things work, go back to their shitty countries and make things work. And despite the fact that is the quintessential racist bullshit, 3 of the 4 American-born of non-white heritage, only one of the 4 was born outside of the US, and she's a naturalized US citizen. So yeah, that's Trump with a special combination of stupid and racist that his fans love so much. It's like it's pointless to bring it to anyone's attention. It's like whenever someone's going, "Oh, this outrage from Trump," is going, "Well, whose mind are you going to change for that?" Because the people who voted for him, they fucking love it. That's why they voted for him. He emboldened their bigotry. He told them their vile, disgusting bigotry was right. And it is weird to me the extent to which they're not bothered by how goddamn stupid he is. And also, I'm reasonably sure he's suffered cognitive damage, like, micro strokes or something, just with his age and whatnot. He's not trying to be funny, not trying to be derogatory. I'm just observing evidence. And his cognitive facilities simply aren't there. Time and time again, you see his inability to make a sentence, his inability to stay on topic for 30 seconds. I just think he's lost a significant chunk of his cognitive function, and it's really quite disturbing. CrossFit, oh, you may be right. He may be deliberately trying to create a stir to try and take attention away from his mate. Is it Jeffrey Epstein, who is finally looks like he's going to face serious scrutiny over his criminal sex trafficking and pedophilia, of which Trump has jokingly referred to in the past. Like, oh, he likes him young, maybe even younger than me. Like, this is one of the things that creeps me out. These powerful men who are hideous fucking exploiters, and there's whole systems in place to protect them. And there's just all these people who know, and they're allowed to keep doing it. Whether it was Jimmy Savile in the UK or Harvey Weinstein or Jeffrey Epstein or Donald fucking Trump, for that matter. People have been talking about the Epstein thing for years. It was just like a known thing. Like, people said it in the lead up to the Trump election. His associations with Epstein and Epstein's obvious sex trafficking and pedophilia was brought up, and Trump's participation in it was brought up, and people just went, eh. And I'll tell you one thing, like, some people tried to deflect and say, I'm sorry, but his speeches make my videos look slick and professional. Just because I'm doing stream of consciousness, I can be more articulate doing 15 minutes stream of consciousness than fucking Trump can be trying to do 30 seconds stream of consciousness. He can't even finish a sentence. It's actually, when you think about it, it's quite terrifying to watch him in action, being asked simple questions and just blathering and making no sense to start with, and then just breaking down and making less and less sense as the sentence continues. Like it just is all over the shop. Um, it's really, really fucking freaky the degree to which there is really serious impairment in Trump's cognitive function. There's just no two ways about it. Like, not being mean about people with impaired cognitive function. I'm not being sarcastic. I'm not just going, oh, Trump's dumb. You just look at the evidence. There is obviously severe impairment to Trump's cognitive functions. He cannot focus on anything. He can't finish a sentence. He can't get a single fucking sentence out. Hey Safa, does Uluru have a crappy mobile signal? I mean, probably. It's in the middle of nowhere. Oh yeah, yes, Music Over. Like his recent thing on his July the 4th, I want to be Kim Jong Un parade, which was just pathetic. At least Kim Jong Un can actually do a totalitarian parade. Trump can't even manage it. Um, yeah, and he blamed his incoherent, slurring speech on the teleprompter being covered in rain, and it's like, how does the teleprompter being out justify you talking about airports, military airports in 1775? What the fuck? What the fuck? It's just like his brain's just not there. And it doesn't matter. This is, again, it's pointless pointing out, if I just wanted to make Trump gotcha moments, you'd be doing it every day. Like, oh, look what Trump did today. Got him. He's not true. He isn't fit for office. And his supporters don't care. And the people who have their snout in the trough don't care. The people who got their hands on power do not fucking care how dangerous Trump is. They just don't. Because you wonder how frustrated Melania feels at night. She's complicit. I mean, some people jokingly, some people seriously say they feel pity for Melania. Fuck it. She is in a transactional relationship. She's complicit in what he does. I think it's kind of obvious she's unhappy, but fuck it, man. She's got all the money and exposure, and is just like, I don't fucking care. So Rashid gold digger. No, she married Trump for love and his wonderful personality. I don't think necessarily that she's a gold digger. I just think it's a transactional relationship. I don't think necessarily, I don't know how they got together. I don't think it's necessarily the case she sought Trump out. But it's a transactional relationship. There's no oh God, misclassification. That's in my head now. Why did you do that? Try to imagine Trump's dirty talk. So for the difference with gold digger, uh, okay, I mean it's semantics, I guess. There's not really a lot of point in arguing differences. My view of the term gold digger is there's like a predatory aspect to it. Whereas in this case, I just feel like Trump's at least an equal predator in it. I don't know. I mean, I just think it's a negative uh, and often, I'm not saying you're misogynist, I'm just saying the term is often used unnecessarily and in a really misogynist way, as if the woman's all at fault somehow. That's what I just say. It's I'd prefer to just call it a transactional relationship, a very dishonest transactional relationship. I'm trying to work out what the music over. You think Trump's dirty talk isn't to Melania, to his imaginary friends? No, see, it's not even repulsing me. I just it's such an alien concept, and some it's just so my brain's refusing to even cogitate on Trump and dirty talk. I mean, it's just no. My brain's just decided that isn't a thing that we should concern ourselves with. That is not a valuable use of our neurons, and we won't spend any time thinking about Trump and dirty talk. Hi, Charlie. How's it going? Oh, I mean, I saw someone, whether it was on YouTube or something else, someone used a bit of a, I don't know, I think DJ Khaled put out a sex tape, and that's just what I imagine Trump sex looks like. Just not great. So if you've been doing footy training, go you. Oh, it was Charlie. Your mum's at a James Rain concert. Oh, I hope he doesn't do a hip while he's on stage. I saw Australian Crawl when I was still at school. For those who don't know, James Rain is a fairly well-known pop star or rock star in Australia. Was lead singer of a group called Australian Crawl in the 80s. Had a few hits. I really enjoyed the live show. They were very good live. One of the few decent rock acts to come to Dubbo, where I grew up, which is in Western New South Wales. What big acts? I got to see Cold Chisel play Dubbo, and I even snuck backstage to the Cold Chisel show. Uh, and my favourite band at the time, my favourite band when I was at school was the Angels, Doc Neeson and the Angels. And they came to Dubbo twice. I think I saw them in Dubbo twice. We did not get many big acts in Dubbo though. Oh gosh, God, that's so 80s, Charlie. Boom Crash Opera is the opening act. Holy crap. It's just, you know what? Rock and roll is a shit career. It's a terrible career. Um, Safi, you bring up another terrible career. St Kilda coach. 3 coaches this year. Holy shit. Um, uh, God, there was a long, boring, stupid argument about that in the lunchroom at work today, and I just had my earbuds in playing music really loud so I didn't have to fucking put up with it. Jesus, it's just not that important. Oh, Miss Foxification, you were into Hunters and Collectors. They were too hip for me. I got into Hunters and Collectors when I was at college, so that was a few years later. I was into the Angels in the late 70s and early 80s, and into Hunters and Collectors in the mid 80s. I think I saw them live once. I didn't go out that much, really. CrossFit, I'm never going to see your face again. Charlie with the appropriate response. No way, get fucked, fuck off. I still love the story for that, which I'm sure I've told in the live stream before. But for those who don't know, the Angels, an Australian rock band, their first big hit in the 70s, late 70s, was called Am I Ever Gonna See Your Face Again? And it was a big song, and they were very good live. The Angels were very good live. And because that was our first, they eventually dropped it from their live set. And they're going, and there was this thing in the late 70s and into the 80s in country towns and suburbs, the um, blue light disco, which was a disco run by the cops. Because then, parents could feel safe, their kids were safe because it was run by the cops and the cops were chaperoning it. The blue light disco used to go out. And so the legend goes, the Angels had been invited along as special guests to a blue light disco in Western Sydney. And at this stage, it's been, something like 10 years since they've played Am I Ever Gonna See Your Face Again live. And while they're there, the DJ puts on Am I Ever Gonna See Your Face Again? And as soon as they play it, the crowd goes right off. Like, it's the ultimate bogan rock song. Um, and and the Angels were impressed that people still like the song. And then they got the weirdest shock. The chorus is just him going, Am I ever gonna see your face again? And the crowd shouted a response in unison, No way, get fucked, fuck off. And the band are like, What now? Am I ever gonna see your face again? No way, get fucked, fuck off. And they're going to the cop, What the fuck is this? Did you put them up to that? And the cops go, No, this is just some spontaneous thing. And this was like an Australia-wide spontaneous thing. I don't know how it spread, who came up with it, how it spread. This is pre-internet viral meme spreading. Am I ever going to see your face again? Gets the response, no way, get fuck off. So after they found this out, they thought, we're going to put this back in the live set and see what happens. And they played it live, like I said, they hadn't played it live for 10 years. And the chorus, and they just wanted to say, Am I ever going to see your face again? And the audience just went wild. And the whole audience is, no way, get fuck off. And just a very weird bit of Australian music history. So, yes, that was the 80s. The song was originally released in the late 70s. But yeah, the blue light discos were in the 80s. And this is sometime in the 80s, the Angels discovered this shit was happening. I even interviewed Doc Neeson a couple times for my college radio station. God, that was a thing. Interviewing someone that I had idolized when I was a kid. That was a weird experience, trying to hold it together and not be total fanboy over Doc Neeson, who I'd always thought was really cool. That was pretty funny. Used to do a lot of interviews at college. Did I interview anyone particular? Lots of Australian acts. I did interview. It wasn't Mark Seymour. It was actually the drummer, Doug Faulkner from Hunters and Collectors. Don't think I interviewed anyone from Culture, although, like I said, I actually got to hang out backstage at their Dubbo gig. But yeah, lots of indie Australian acts in the mid and late 80s I got to interview, which was fun. Since I've got Stevie Nicks is coming to Australia. So, I mean, what is she, 80? I don't want to be rude. But all these bands, I mean, and I don't really hold it against them. They've got to, supplement their pension somehow, because rock music, pop music is a shit career. Even if you do reasonably well, it's a shit career. Stevie Nicks, I'm just going to look up her age. Says she's worth 75 million. Good on you, Stevie Nicks. Stevie Nicks' age, 71. Okay. Oh God! Now all people of her era have shown up in the related searches. Christine McVie, 76. Pat Benatar, 66. Don Henley, 71. Mick Fleetwood, 72. Lindsey Buckingham, 69. So Fleetwood Mac are all about the same age. Sheryl Crow's 57. Joan Jett, 60. Stevie Wonder's 69. Nice. Okay. But I mean, I was having this conversation with Hazy once, how shit a career rock music is. Because even like bands who do kind of well but don't make it really big, like they're doing well enough to think maybe they will make it big, and they're touring and whatnot, and they're releasing records and they're making a bit of money, but not a fortune. And suddenly they hit 30 or even their early 30s and they go, it's not going to happen, is it? We're never getting past this level where I'm slogging away and just barely making enough money to stay alive, and I'm already starting to feel my age at 30, and then they realize, are they going to go out and get a straight job, like basically a complete change of their lifestyle? But they've got no job experience because they've been rock and rolling for 10 or 15 years. And then they go, oh, I've got to go out into the job market with basically zero experience in a straight job. So the people with equivalent experience I'm competing with are 80. You're in your 30s with no job experience, and you're competing for jobs with 18-year-olds because everyone else is too experienced for you. And it's really fucked. And we expect them to uh, perform for us, and it's like 1%. 1% of people who give up a chunk of their lives to perform make anything approaching a living out of it. And of that mob, I reckon only 1% end up comfortable. Like, it's really fucking shit. And we take it for granted. All these people make great music for us. They do great performances as actors, some football players. Sports people tend to die really young because they damage their body so much playing elite level sport. A disturbing number of football players die in their 50s. Um, and it's like these people fucking ruin their lives for us, basically. Our entertainment, and we're so shitty to them. We're so and that's why I'm saying we. I'm not saying people generally. I know I'm guilty of it as well. We're so shitty to them. We demand so much of them. We expect so much of them, and they fucking destroy their lives for us. Whether it's just in a purely financial sense, like rock stars, pop stars. Oh, when I brought it up, AZ pointed out comedians too, because that's what happened to him. He spent his 20s gigging as a comedian rather than, working in a job. But it looked like that was going to work for him. But then he got struck down with chronic illness. First, it was rheumatoid arthritis, and he was too unwell to continue. But then he was in his early 30s, sick, and with no experience in the workforce. And it's because he'd given up those early career years for comedy. And it's ridiculous. Oh, yeah, Miss Fox Direction 27 Club. Isn't that weird? The number of really high profile rock musicians who died at 27, like who is it? Janis Joplin. If correct me if some of these aren't in it, but it's like Janis Joplin and Jim Morrison from The Doors, Kurt Cobain, the most recent one with what's the name tried to go to rehab and they said no, no, no. I think even Jimi Hendrix might have been 27. And do a quick search of what names come up, because it's really quite freaky how often it happened. So Brian Jones, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, and Jim Morrison all died at the age of 27, and they were within 2 years of each other. And then, yeah, Kurt Cobain died at 27. He's saying Robert Johnson, the blues musician, died in 1938, but he was 27. And there's Amy Winehouse. That's who I was trying to think of. Yeah, that is such a weird coincidence. The 27 Club. Music aid, we're going to take the mobile and go to bed. Fair call. Updates. Updates always take a long time. 11% through your flight sim updates. Yeah. Um, yes. Updates. Oh my God, that just made two things pop into my head. The the first Matrix sequel when Neo's fighting with agents and he's not scared of them anymore because he's been elevated. But when he fights and one of them pulls a move he wasn't expecting and he goes, ooh, upgrades. An upgrade's not the same as an update. But and then I remember there's a movie called Upgrade, I think. I saw it recently. I think that's what it's called. Um, so yeah, it is. It is called Upgrade. Yeah. Uh, directed by Aussie Lee Wannell, famously involved in the Saw series of movies. Um, that's not a bad film, actually. Upgrade. I finally got to see it, and it has twists and twists. That one. It sort of seems to be going in one particular direction, and then you get a little twist happening, and ooh, and then there's a double twist, and you go, ah, okay. It's worth it. It's not exactly high art, but it's a pretty good action sci-fi film. I did hear that Miss Foxification. There's going to be a new Matrix movie. Wonder what that'll be like. I agree, Charlie. AIDS's life story could be a movie. Keep meaning to make it into a web series. Actually, we should get. Well, it is a stage show, um, so it's been immortalized in that medium. I like that, Pugwash. When you used to get AOL CDs to use as coasters in the office, do you put new version on top of the old coaster or do a fresh install? Yes. You'd end up with that was not really a thing in Australia. It was to a lesser degree. We get like, CDs of various things. Not so much, well, because AOL was never a thing here. Um, but games and stuff in serial boxes. But yeah, it was a running joke in America, the endless barrage of AOL CDs. They'd be in your mailbox. They'd be on magazines. It'd be what thing? Yeah. Uh, so yeah, no, I remember using CDs as Christmas ornaments because you could hang them from the Christmas tree and they'd spin around and be very reflective. Oh, I'm glad you've seen the show on YouTube, Catherine. It is hilarious. Because I shot a bunch of stuff in uh, the rehearsals for Code Grey. Lots of behind the scenes stuff, some rehearsal stuff, some interview stuff. And I think it was just the week before the show went live. I was doing a slightly longer interview with Aidsy, and I asked the question I kind of didn't want to ask it. And I even said at times, look, I'm not superstitious. So saying this won't have any effect, but I'm actually somewhat hesitant to even say it out loud. But the thing is, you're not in particular, the whole show is about how bad your health is. You are not in particularly good health now. And doing a live performance every night for 3-4 weeks is pretty punishing. There's a non-zero chance you won't make it through this project. Have you considered that? And he was very yeah, for want of a better word, fatalistic. He's going like, obviously that's a possibility. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm going on as if it isn't going to happen. But if it does happen, that's just a thing and we'll deal with it. Turns out it didn't happen. He completed the whole run, which was great. But it was definitely a concern I had. It was really weird being part of it. Like someone who's not in great health doing something uh, that is potentially very punishing physically is obviously tempting fate. It was obviously like, oh, okay. So it's like you're just generally not in a good way. But on top of that, you're going to do something that's quite demanding physically and mentally. Um, and there's the thing, talk to anyone with a chronic illness, talk to anyone with chronic pain, and they will tell you most likely that keeping your brain sharp is as much of a challenge as keeping it together physically. And sometimes you can apparently be quite okay physically, but just be completely debilitated mentally or emotionally. And other times you can be quite good mentally, but have a really severe physical debilitation. Uh, and I was most concerned with his ability to stand up to the physical punishment of doing these live shows every night for 3 4 weeks. Um, but yeah, also because he had to do a whole show, remember all the lines, because it wasn't all him, but it was mostly him. And just the demands on his mental acuity for that run was, just extreme. And he came through with flying colours, really. Ha, Catherine, yes, you seek medical advice before going on stage if you were AIDSy. You did a week at Adelaide Festival, yeah, and taking 2 weeks off sick. Look, I'm sure if his doctor knew he was doing the show and was all for it, but I'm sure if you literally just said, medical advice, if is this a good idea? The answer would be fuck no. And also, I think AIDSy had no illusions about that either. He knew if he got medical advice about, is this a good idea? The medical advice would go, it is not. This isn't a good idea. This is what we call in the medical profession a bad idea. It's just because it just is. It's like, dude, you're just going to punish yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally. Because that's the other thing. Doing this performance is like a real roller coaster. So, goddamn, I was like, it's such a lot of stress to put yourself under. Um, but he came through, and it was like, and like years later, like he got this job, essentially being uh, caretaker in a student housing block, like a block of student apartments. And when he said he was going for and part of the job was like, he didn't pay a lot, but you got to live in one of the student apartments. So basically, half the pay was your accommodation. It's a bed sit or studio, like single room apartment. So like half the pay is the accommodation and half the pay is pay. But when he said he was going for it, this job, which kind of sounded physically demanding, and I was like, really, really, is that a thing that you can do? He went for it and he got it. He used his wonderful winning personality in the interview, and he's kept that for years. He's still doing it. He's been doing that for years, just like against all odds. He just keeps beating the odds again and again. It's really quite freaky when it comes down to it. The degree to which he beats the odds is pretty goddamn amazing, quite honestly. So misclassification, you do what you want. Yes, the I think that would be AIDSy's coat of arms. Fuck it, let's just do it. Who notoriously said that bloody um, Bill O'Reilly from Fox News when he was a much younger TV presenter, pre-Fox News. I think you can still find the video on YouTube unless he's issued takedown notices for it. It's basically for those who aren't aware, particularly in the American TV industry. It's not just there; it's around the world, but far more so in America because of all the chains of affiliates they have. The people from the big central stations record dozens of promos for their show. Everyone knows it. Fuck it, we'll do it live. He kept trying to record this thing and fucking up the lines, and he just got really pissed off with the teleprompter. Fucking thing suckets. This fucking thing sucks. But yeah, the line that everyone remembers is Bill O'Reilly just going, "Fuck it, we'll do it live." It's just very funny. He's just got the shits with everyone. And I think we've all been there. We've all been there at some point. This Fox goes, just fuck it. Yes, that could be a thing. Charlie, play us out. What does that mean? That goes back, I think the phrase play us out goes back to old vaudeville music theatre, in that music would be played thing, and it's become a thing in a lot of live shows on TV that you play someone out can be music. I'm not. It's so long since I've seen the actual video in question with old Bill. I'm not sure exactly what he's saying. When he's saying play us out. Oh, sorry, is that what he said? Play us out. What does that mean? You didn't understand why I said that on the teleprompter. That's right. No, it's all ages since I've watched it. But yeah, he just loses his shit completely. So there's a kind of equivalent one for Australian TV fans. And again, I'm not sure if this is still on YouTube or if it got copyright takedown notices. But there was a guy who had a kind of squeaky clean image in the 70s and 80s on Australian TV. He's a TV chef, Peter Russell Clark. He was all over Australian TV in the sort of late 70s into the 80s. And he did a lot of commercials, particularly for butter. And there was this video of outtakes on YouTube. He just kept getting the lines wrong. He was being good natured compared to Bill O'Reilly, but he's just swearing like a trooper. And for someone who had a really squeaky clean public image, seeing him just swearing like a trooper because he kept fucking up the lines for this ad was really funny. Somewhat shocking for some people, but I just thought it was really funny because he had such a squeaky clean image. Peter, g'day, Russell, g'day, Clark. But yeah, so to see him swearing like a trooper was pretty goddamn funny. So Pugwash, there's a video of your wife before you knew her on the Jerry Sadowitz show, and you actually saw it for me. I've never heard of Jerry Sadowitz. I don't know what this. I'm trying to think. Okay, what's weird video of me that exists somewhere? I know, of course, weird video of AIDSy is his accidental porno. That exists somewhere. He's never actually seen it. He just knows it was recorded when he didn't know they were recording him being involved with these other people, but found out it was, and then he's never seen it. And he was actually under 18, so that's technically underage porn. So you'd go to jail if you saw it. So there you go. Oh, is it notification? Aussie's the Cotties cordial. Is that the my dad picks the fruit? It goes to Cotties to make the cordial that I like best. You all know I like a cocktail or two, and I often try out different cocktail bars. I've seen one. One I was in a while back had uh, um, a cocktail on their menu called My Dad Picks the Fruit, because one of the flavors, instead of using lime juice, which is a fairly common ingredient in cocktails, they actually had the Cotties Cooler Cordial as a flavoring in it. Hence, the cocktail was called My Dad Picks the Fruit. Oh God, Charlie, I've never done that. That sounds awful. Fruit cup cordial and goon. Oh my God. Oh my God, that's just an Australian abomination. I do admit I had a weakness for the Cotties Cooler cordial. Very unnatural green lime cordial. They didn't even call it lime because it was just completely artificial. It was this green cordial that they called cooler, and like Coola. Um, and I was always a bit of a fan of the Cotties Cooler cordial. Um, it's just sugar and green food coloring, basically. That's what it is, sugar and green food coloring. Um, but I had a bit of a soft spot for it, I have to admit. Um, yeah, CPUG Watch, that is the culture barrier. Goon is cask wine. So it's like the cheapest, nastiest wine that a significant number of Australian teenagers have got shit faced on. So yes, it's a looking at, because no, I was thinking like I don't always make a cocktail, particularly on Tuesday, but I think I want to tonight because I don't know. I was thinking of it today. Ooh, and I was thinking so cordial. I've got this blood orange flavoring in the fridge, which I think is still okay. I'm just try and find a good blood orange cocktail. Blood orange and bourbon. I've got some bourbon. I could do that. Blood orange Marys. No, I don't want to do. Oh, a rum sour. Geez, that sounds good actually. A blood orange rum sour. I think I might be on a winner. Blood orange and bourbon. Let me guess that's just blood orange and bourbon. It's going to be really boring. Recipe: blood orange, bourbon, bitters, sparkling water. Ooh, that sounds boring. No, don't do this to me. Ugh, went to a dead end. What's it called? Blood orange rum sour. Rum, lemon juice, blood orange, egg white, and agave. Yeah, I'm gonna make that a blood orange rum sour. I like the sound of that. That's what I'm gonna make. Oh, that's right, box wine. Yes, that's what they call it in the US, box wine. That's an Australian invention, I think. Um, uh, Box wine, cask wine. Uh, oh, Charlie, Goon of Fortune. I love that. For those who don't know, Goon of Fortune has the other ubiquitous Australian invention in it, the Hills Hoist, the clothesline. And what you do is you take the goon bag out of the cardboard cask, you hang it from one of the arms of the Hills hoist, and all the participants stand in a circle around the thing, and you spin the Hills hoist, and it goes round and round, goon of fortune, and whoever the goon bag stops in front of, they have to take a hit of the goon, and then you spin again, until someone falls over and vomits, because goon's horrible. I'm trying to think of other really gross things. Alco Pops are a bad one, but Passion Pop, that was this sparkling, cheap white wine with like a passion fruit cordial flavor in it. What are the other names of gross shit that was clearly aimed at teenagers, specifically teenage girls? Passion Pop, Summer Wine. That was like goon quality white wine that had been carbonated. Yes, Pugwash, no one in Australia drinks Foster's. It all gets exported. No one here drinks it. Your parents say Telstra's ridiculously bad in the Northern Territory. It's every. Oh God, you suffer vodka cruises. I have been guilty of a night on the vodka cruises. I have to admit. Um, uh, Smirnoff Double Blacks. Thought I was sophisticated doing Smirnoff Double Blacks. We were working with a Russian guy that has work drinks now. I'm thinking they're Smirnoff Double Blacks, and I was like, "Hey, look, Evgeny, it's just like home, vodka." And he just gave me this look and goes, "It's not vodka. It's terrible." And I was like, "Okay, we will no longer call this vodka. We will call this insult to Yevgeny's heritage. It's so bad we can't call it vodka." True. Apple cider is well. Apple cider is again a whole spectrum, from really shitty to really quite good. Like my two favorites. One I've still got there is actually a still cider. Most cider's carbonated. It's a still cider that I didn't think I would like, but it's really good. It comes from Orange, and it's like west of Sydney in New South Wales. It's orange apple cider. And the other one, my other favorite one, is called Flying Brick Cider. It's a black cockatoo on there as their icon. It's made just out past Geelong on the Bellarine Peninsula. It's really good. Aussies, if you ever see uh, Flying Brick Cider, I recommend. They make sweet, dry, and draft, so it depends what you like. Um, I'm not such a fan of dry cider. I will drink a dry cider, but it's probably my least favorite. Their sweet cider is not as sweet as some. Like things like Recorderlig and shit are just cordial, basically. They're far too sugary. Um, uh, Flying Brick's sweet is not too sweet, but their draft is probably the best. The draft or the sweet, and then the dry. Um, oh, Miss Foxation, you like pear cider? Pear's usually dry. Pear cider is usually dry. Safi's Russian vodka looks like gin. They're both clear. How is that different? Oh my god, Bugwash, Russian Standard. Isn't that a nasty, cheap one? I feel like I've had Russian Standard. I've just got like Costco, a huge bottle of Smirnoff or something up there, like 1.25 litre bottle of Smirnoff, a huge bottle of gin, a huge bottle of vodka, and a huge bottle of bourbon. Oh, we're saying as Russian Standard is a Belarusian vodka, or the Russian recipe. All right, I get my rum. No, did I say, is it a rum or a brandy? It's a rum. Okay, I've got rum. Should I do my Captain Morgan spiced or Kraken black spiced rum? To decide which one of those would be best. Adele, you had a TGI Fridays cinnamon Jack Daniels cocktail. Cinnamon is a nice flavor. in drinks. I've had a few cinnamon drinks. I got this food stuff that's meant for baking. There's some fruit flavors, and one was cinnamon, and I used that flavored drinks, and it was actually pretty good. Okay, we have votes for Kraken. I'll get the Kraken. Oh, get Jack and the Kraken. It's just here, actually. Oh, the cute Kraken bottle. What do I need? I need lemon juice, which is there. I need egg white, which is here. Oh, egg white. I got sweetener. Oh, my blood orange. That's what I want, isn't it? That's here. There's my blood orange. Yeah. The cocktail shop. A shrub. This is a weird thing. Shrub is a very specific thing in what do you call it? Cocktail world. Charlie, you want a bong made from a Kraken bottle? Be easy for holding as a bong, I suppose. See, they've got a recommendation here. A Syracuse, 2 ounces of vermouth, 3/4 ounce of this, 1/2 ounce of rye, and a dash of orange bitters. That's okay. What are the ingredients? Blood orange juice, cane sugar, vinegar, shrub. This thing has vinegar in this. This is apple cider vinegar. All right. Oh, I need my cocktail shaker. Where'd I put that? Okay. Oh, and of course, I need my glass. Okay, again, technically, some people would frown on me using this sticky map. Again, a big block of ice. Ooh. I've got to replace my ice after this. Go there. All right. Remember to make myself some more ice. Okay, so I've got my glass. Now, I'm going to make a bloody rum sour. I don't know if I've ever made this. I don't think I have. Let's go. Okay, I've got my agave syrup here. Cute, Charlie. You're supposed to feed your dog, but he's all sleepy and peaceful. That's actually probably enough of that. Okay. And Vigo Aron. I wish I had a bottle cutter that worked, because I've had some cool bottles. I've wanted to keep them, and I've got this bottle cutter thing off the internet, and it was shit. Didn't work at all. I was really disappointed. I scratched up a couple of nice bottles. I just threw them out afterwards. What else do I have to put in here? My actual blood orange stuff, of course. Ooh, that's a good one, Pugwash. A glass cutting blade on a Dremel. That's a good idea. I could go to would Bunnings have that? Bunnings have Dremels and similar things. That could be the answer. Check out the Dremels. I need this. And I want egg white. Make it frothy. This ought to be an interesting color. I'm not sure what color this is going to end up being. Brown, probably. We shall see. Oh yes, handheld rotary saw, Pugwash, that's a good idea. Yeah, I think I'll go to a hardware store and see if they've got anything that's an effective bottle cutter. Not a bad idea. Adele, Opie's still coming to check me out. That's nice. Thanks, Opie. Glad you're still a fan. even if Lindsay's not here to say hello to. Don't know where she is. That is a very good point, misfoxification, using a Dremel or something. You'd want a very good mask filter because of the very fine glass dust that comes out. That will fuck up your lungs. Okay, gonna do the shaky, shaky, shaky. Not gonna do any tricky Tom Cruise throwing things. I think I've mentioned this before, but when I finally saw that 80s Tom Cruise movie Cocktail that he did with Brian Brown, it's very funny because it's very 80s camp. But the one thing I couldn't avoid thinking watching it is the people who made this film really fucking hate women. All the women's roles were really negative, and the guys were just, sort of hard done by and misunderstood. The women were all bitches who were fucking everything up. And it was just consistent. It just kept happening that there'd be something really negative about women again and again. So for Tom Cruise wrecked Shazam, who was Tom Cruise in Shazam? I'm trying to remember because I did watch Shazam. I just don't remember Tom Cruise in it. Pugwash, your last cocktail bar you went to had rubber floor tiles behind the bar. They're cheating. It is not actually a very appealing colour, I'll have to say. It kind of looks like dirty washing up water. In all honesty, that is not appealing. I mean, it's going to taste nice. Yeah, Pugwash frothy piss, that's reasonable, quite honestly. Oh yeah, it tastes good. Tastes very. Yeah, there you go, Adele. That's a better way of putting it. It looks like a Harry Potter potion. I should get some dry ice and drop it in to really get the effect. Oh, Justin, that's why we were talking about that before. Trump telling American-born congresswomen to go back where they came from. It made his statement about they should fix up their own shitty country. It made that statement funny, quite honestly, because that's what they're attempting to do, fix up their shitty country with a shitty leader who's fucking everything up. He's so racist and so stupid. Odell, there's a Harry Potter themed bar in Adelaide. That's interesting. Um, I think I've seen some video of that place. The cocktails that change color. I mean, I know with some cocktail bars, the presentation of the cocktails is as big as anything. I feel I'm kind of boring and I'm really only interested in the taste of the cocktails. Don't really want to pay extra because they look specky, but I'd get into it. I reckon I'd really get into it. Um, the There's a nerd bar. Well, there's actually several nerd bars in Melbourne. What I know of is a gaming one. There's like upstairs is a tabletop gaming shop, and downstairs there's a bar, and they have themed cocktails. They have like a mana potion and a health potion, same colours that are in here. Ahmed, is there a Seinfeld themed restaurant in Melbourne, Fitzroy? I don't know if it's still there. That is not a part of town I go to a lot. So I do remember it was there. I'm not sure if it is still there. Oh yeah, Adele, definitely. Come to Adelaide. I definitely would want to check it out. Absolutely. We got to send people back where they came from. Send the Australians back to the UK. Yes, well, I'm sure our First Nations people see some value in that. But yeah. Yeah, Justin, you do hit the nail on it. And again, it's not subtle. People think like they're trying to catch Trump out, like, oh, they go back where you came from. It's not make America great, it's make America white. It's like it's what his fans love. It's like, yes, it is true that he's hideously racist and hideously stupid on top of it, but you're not going to affect him by pointing out, hey, he's quite racist. Hey, that's quite evil what he's, because his fans love it and love him even more when they say it. And the evil soulless fucks who are getting their power from him, they don't want to stand up to him at all. I mean, watching how spineless and soulless the Republican Party was somewhere between hilarious and terrifying. You know, these people saying like, "Never Trump." Trump won't get the nomination no matter what. We won't allow it, and we can't go along with Trump. And then to a person, they just lined up to kiss his ring because power matters more to him. Power matters more to the Republican Party than anything else. Um, they've made it very clear they have no scruples whatsoever. He was a misfoxication. You don't credit him with forethought. It's not complex thought. He knows for a fact saying racist shit improved his popularity, and he's really deeply racist and always has been. His dad was in the Klan, for fuck's sake. And hi, Nog, how you going? Nice to see you. So he's venting his own racism, and there is very much a power thing with him too, because like he made the joke in his election campaign, he's so popular he could shoot someone and he wouldn't lose any votes. And that appears to be true. But what he's clearly learned since gaining power, he can say awful, vile things that buck all standards of decency, and suffer no repercussions whatsoever. And so he has a whole power trip going with it. It's like, they all think I'm not allowed to say this, but they can't stop me. It doesn't limit my power at all, and it increases my popularity when I do. So there's a real power trip for him in saying these really outrageously vile, bigoted slurs. He really enjoys the fact that he can say them. Pugwash would be funny if Twitter banned him. Yeah, if Jack wasn't actually a Nazi sympathizer, that might happen. I mean, I don't know. The management of Twitter are a pack of fuckwits, quite honestly. They're really scared of the backlash they would get if they banned Trump. Not without reason, quite honestly. Not without reason at all. But I don't know, there's a disturbing amount of evidence that Jack from Twitter has no problem at all with the white supremacists on Twitter. He seems far too comfortable with it. But I mean, I just think, don't they lie awake at night worrying that Trump will start a major international incident on their fucking platform? Do I think Trump writes his own posts, or is there an evil genius doing it for him? You can see the difference. You can see which tweets are incoherent Trump dribbling and which ones are written by someone else. There are very, very obvious differences between a lot of his tweets. And just the random rambling racist shit, I'm pretty sure is pure Trump. But every now and then you see tweets that are more articulate and really deliberately structured, and you go, okay, someone else wrote that for him. He didn't write that. Oh God, the whole thing is just a fucking nightmare. Like, he's just debased public discourse so far. He's actively emboldened white supremacists, neo-fascists, neo-Nazis to the point that mass shooters have been directly inspired by him. And this is just apparently normal now. That an American president can make excuses for neo-Nazis, can have neo-Nazis and white supremacists on his staff. And that's just a thing. That's just a thing. It's like, fucking hell. So after does Trump idolize Hitler? I have a suspicion Trump admires Hitler's propaganda machine because he literally uses the exact propaganda techniques preached by the Nazis. Like, that's not even hyperbole, that's not even exaggeration. He's down the letter using the Goebbels propaganda techniques. It's freaky how down the line his replication of the Goebbels propaganda techniques are. It's quite disturbing to see. So we just missed something. On the plus side, they all have guns. Who all has guns that makes it a plus, Pugwash? That's the thing. Oh, we're comparing us. So if you've got a 30% Russian, 70% Aussie, either Justin, you're saying your accent's somewhere between Aussie and American. Charlie, you're saying your friends who are half Filipino have semi-American accents. If they were born in the Philippines or brought up in the Philippines, a lot of the English language instruction in the Philippines is done by Americans, or they learn it from American TV, which goes to air in the Philippines. So you do get a lot of English-speaking Filipinos who have at least a partial American accent. That's the thing I always find interesting with people who move to Australia from particularly Southeast Asia, but East Asia generally, but particularly from the Southeast Asian nations, when they move to Australia, you can work out who their English teacher was by their accent. Like, they'll obviously have a bit of an accent from their country of origin, but you'll get a little American tone from people who had American speaking people teaching them English. Sometimes they'll have more of an English tone because of the teacher, and sometimes they'll have more of an Australian tone because their teacher was actually Australian, or they just learned when they moved to Australia. Which, yeah, I always found it mildly interesting how their accent's been affected by who taught them English. Justin, people tell you it's weird to hear Aussie slang coming out of an American accent. I imagine it would be. Although, there's the Boston accent in America. Sounds the most like an Australian because they leave the R off the end of words like we do. And that's really and a lot of American accents to an Australian ear really exaggerate the R at the end of words, and the only one, to my knowledge, that doesn't is the Boston accent, which drops the R like Australians do. So you can, as an Australian, being mistaken for being Boston. Oh yeah, pugwash, bar, and most Americans say bar, but a Bostonian will talk about a bar and a car. Like, listen to Marky Mark. Or go watch what was it with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck and Robin Williams. My brain, I remember all the actors, and I go blanky. No, it's not Dead Poet Society, for fuck's sake. Brainy go blanky. Why did I remember all of the actors and I've just weirdly blanked? Good Will Hunting. Thank you, Charlie. I knew it was a 3-word title. That's why I went with Dead Poets Society. That's ridiculous. Good Will Hunting. They all have Boston accents. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon and their crew have Boston accents. A lot of Americans find the Boston accent really, particularly Southerners who talk a bit more slowly and really exaggerate the R. My experience has been Southerners are really thrown by a Boston accent or an Australian accent because it's so unlike theirs. I was talking about British accents. Holy crap. British accents change every 20 miles. I'm fascinated how there are so many diverse accents in the British Isles and how they change. Okay, you want me to say it? I'm going to say it because it's funny. Someone's come in with a username and said hello. The username Left Wing Dorks Suck, it's a funny username. I'll give you that. Oh yeah, Zava Cockney, just in London. The accents in the different boroughs of London are insane. Like my friend Frankie the Skin, who's regularly in here, he's like North London accent, and I remember the first time I met him, one of my trips to England, I did a road trip with another YouTube friend from England, Steve, and Steve has a very neutral English accent. It's not tough. It's not very working class. He has what I regard as a very neutral English accent, and when we got to London and we met up with Frank has an unusual accent. And Steve was saying, I can't place your accent. What's your accent? And Frank says, I've moved around a lot, so I've picked up different accents. And Steve said, well, that makes sense. Well, you've sort of moved all around England. And Frank's like, no, just all around London. To Frank's mind, and he's absolutely right, the different boroughs of London have completely different accents. And because Frank had lived in North London and the East End and whatnot, he picked up different bits of it. So his accent's not really Cockney, but it's kind of East End, kind of North London. Is a very unique accent. Pugwash, you were a Brummie who lived in Yorkshire and moved. Oh my God, your accent must be all over the shop. Brummie to Yorkshire to Norfolk. My God, your accent must be all over the shop. That's amazing. See, dude, I still love you for the username. That's just good. Left Wing Dorks Suck. So, Safa, Russians think you sound Estonian, but you're like Siberia to Ukraine, then country Victoria. That's the thing. The difference between city, I'm not that good at picking it. Aidsy is much better at picking regional Australian accents because I used to think there weren't any. But you do get, particularly there's a difference between country and city accents, but there are little differences between the capital cities as well. But oh my God, you go up to Darwin, like the far north where it's tropical and hot, and they speak so slowly. I think it's because it's so hot. It's too hot to talk quickly. And I swear, every now and then you see someone from Darwin being interviewed on the news, and they talk like this about what's going on. And I think they're taking the piss. And I'm going like, is that you're taking the piss? You don't really talk. But then you go up there, and no, they really talk like that. And it's just too hot to talk quickly. So, Justin, you actually lived in 6 different countries. So you've picked up accents from America, Britain, international schools. Good Lord. Yeah, Southern US Southerners talk more slowly. I think it's the heat. People who live in hot areas seem to speak more slowly. Pugwash. But even within Ireland, there are such different accents in the different counties of Ireland, and they all take the piss out of one another because what's my favourite subjects? We've been talking about everything, just whatever's in the news, really. Charlie, you think the Queenslanders are having problems because the humidity melts the brain? Humidity's not great. Humidity's yeah. Well, I always make the jokes. Queensland is Australia's Florida, basically. It's tropical. They have a lot of crocodiles. Florida has the gators, and there seems to be more weirdness in Queensland than in other places. Safa, I'm with you. I hate humidity. I was in Darwin for a holiday for about a month once, and the humidity. Dork suck. Do I think you're a dickhead for voting for Clive? I think Clive Palmer's a piece of shit. After the election, when he said, "Oh, his whole cunning plan was to get people who were pissed off at the Liberal Party to vote for him instead of voting for Labor in a protest," and then he just redirected all the preferences to the Liberal Party. So it was like they voted for the Liberal Party anyway. I don't think Clive Palmer's that smart. I think Clive Palmer is an obnoxious, egotistical, lying piece of shit. And I mean, also, he's a fucking criminal. He ripped off all his workers. He's just a scumbag. No, okay, we got to get the Adventures of Queensland. See, it's really funny. Some people worked out the reason we know about Florida, man. Weirder stuff doesn't really happen in Florida. It's just they have this thing in Florida. I think they call it a sunshine law. It's basically that all crimes sort of get reported to the media. There's supposed to be a thing about openness, and so the media had all these super super fucking weird things being reported. Super weird things happening everywhere, but they weren't all being reported to the media. But because of this sunshine law in Florida, they were all being reported to the media, and hence Florida Man was born. But there's an argument that there's actually no more weird things happening in Florida than anywhere else. Aussie Gun Bunny, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. So what would happen if you put Palmer and Trump in a room? Palmer would disappear up Trump's asshole. Palmer, such a pathetic sycophant, and is such a fucking loser with no aspirations. His big aspiration was to be a third-rate fucked imitation of Trump. So you put Trump and Palmer in a room and Palmer would just disappear up his arsehole. See, Trump and Abbott would be a bit more interesting because Abbott would give Trump a hand job. I mean, Trump wouldn't have to give Abbott a hand job because Abbott would spooge in his pants the instant he saw Trump, and then he would plead to be able to give Trump a hand job. Dog suck. Who has more money, Palmer or Trump? Trump, but that's just because Trump's an even bigger criminal than Palmer. Yes, Adele, you walked in on a Palmer discussion. And so what would happen to Trump and Dutton? That would be a bit more interesting because Dutton's so fucking racist. He would just be quivering about sharing racist ideas with Trump, I think. Aussie Gun Bunny got a podcast called, what's it called? 5 of My Life. An interview podcast like that. Dogsuck, you think Dutton's an alien? Well, he doesn't seem very human. Just like a potato with a couple of holes in it. Oh, Justin, that would be a good one. Trump and Hanson. That would be fucking weird. Again, I think Hanson worships Trump. And Trump would be trying to be nice to Hanson when they explained to him how racist she was. But because Trump's such a piece of garbage with any woman who's, over 30, he'd probably have a hard time not saying something derogatory to Trump. Of course, it's just like Celebrity Fight Club. Yeah, except it's more like Celebrity Suck Up Club. Suffer the most racist state in Oz. Look, the easy thing to say would be Queensland, but the sad fact is there's racism all through Australia. I don't know. Ha! Dogsuck, would that be Prime Minister? No, it's going to be Morrison. The fucking Liberal Party worship Morrison at the moment. He pulled off the impossible electoral win. He is rock solid. I mean, I don't know what Morrison would have to do to lose the leadership. I think Morrison is absolutely rock solid. They like no, the Liberal Party love Morrison so much. He's the solidest leader since Howard. There's no touching Scummo. He's fucking fine. So for his Florida racist, well, see, that's the thing. Florida's notorious for having lots of old people in it, and old people tend to be racist. But Florida has a lot of black people. Florida has a lot of Hispanic people, a lot of Cuban people. So, how do you quantify Florida as racist? I mean, I think a bunch of the old white people who retired there are probably racist, but is that Florida? I don't know. So as a gun bunny, your podcast fan guy interviews people, asks them to tell him their 5 favorite things, and he goes and researches them. All right, so he wants to know what their 5 favorite things, whether they're books, movies, etc., and he may not know about them, and he researches them before they come on. That sounds interesting. I like that. We did a Kevin Rudd one. Nice. Talksuck, who's going to win the next election? I don't know. The next election is so far off. Anything could happen. Since the election, the Labor opposition have been weak as piss. They have just been so fucking shit. I find it really hard to express the degree to which Labor have been shit since the opposition, since the election. But hey, maybe the Libs will pull out one or two really fucking scary policies that might whip Labor into being an actual opposition. I don't know. At the moment, I think it's all LNP. I think it's all LNP at the moment. Labor are fucking useless. Um, in my humble opinion, Labor are doing exactly the wrong thing now. They're running scared and being really conservative, and I think it's exactly the wrong thing to do. And I just think they're being shit at the moment. And I agree, Ms. Foxification, we're headed for major economic problems, and this government is completely incapable of dealing with them. They're just, and Justin, you want the polling back? The polling's still there. The polling didn't go away. There are a whole bunch of companies who, make their money from polling. Yeah, look, any political system has its strengths and weaknesses, and obviously a system where there's two parties that dominate, there's the feeling that you don't have any alternative. There's no viable third party in Australia. If you count, the Conservatives is actually two completely different parties, the Liberals and the National Party. Liberals have never won power in their own right. It's always been in a coalition with the Country Party or the Nationals. But there's no viable alternative. Some people push the Greens. The Greens shit me, quite honestly, because they mouth off all the time, because they're never going to be in power. They're never going to be answerable for anything they say, so they can say anything they want. But Labor is being so fucking shit at the moment. They could conceivably push me towards the Greens. There's a whole bunch of stuff I don't like about the Greens, but there's becoming increasingly things that I really don't like about Labor. I might end up becoming an active advocate for the Greens by the next election if Labor keep being as shit as they are. Because I cannot conceive of actively supporting Labor. I mean, I can conceive of actively advocating against the LNP. I would definitely be doing that. Dogsuck, what don't I like about Labor? Their fucking spinelessness at the moment. They've been so much worse since the election. But the way they've been whipped into line on asylum seeker policy and strong borders ever since John fucking Howard made racism a centerpiece in Australian politics, that's weak as piss. But since the election, they've just been weak as piss on everything. It's like, we should just be Liberal Party light, and that's how we'll get elected. It's like, fuck you, you weak as piss losers. Fucking stand for something. We talk about Harvey Bay and Bribey Island. I visited Bribey Island. I've got family in Queensland. I've got a brother and sister, and their families live in Brisbane. I visited up there. I went camping on Bribey Island. No, Bribey Island's the one with the bridge, yeah, and Stradbroke is the one without the bridge. I visited Bribey Island and went camping on Stradbroke Island. You had to go there by boat, if I remember rightly. That's where I got sunstroke because there was no shelter in a fucking Queensland summer. So I think it was in Christmas holidays in Queensland, And this is for real. I was probably in year 11 or 12, so I was probably 17. Hi, Chronic. How you going? So probably 17, so I couldn't go to the pub because I was underage, and there was no shelter in the fucking campground, and without knowing it, I got sunstroke. And then when I tried to sleep in the tent at night, which was pretty fucking hot, but also I had a fever because I had sunstroke, and I was actually hallucinating. Um, and so here's me, unable to sleep in the wee hours of the morning in a campground, staggering around and hallucinating, thinking I was seeing things and hearing things. Uh, and I didn't tell anyone, so no one knew that I was in this state. And I'm staggering around. And at one point, because I was just so hot, I needed to get cool. And I went to the car because we had a car there. It'd come across on a ferry. And I got into the car and it had vinyl seats and they were like cool. And I was like hugging the vinyl to cool down. And of course, I soon warmed the vinyl up. So that was no good. And this is a weird thing. The beach on this thing had this thing. I don't know if someone had dug this trench or if the tide had done it normally, but you go down to the beach, it was there during the day, and there's kind of like this pool, which the high tide could reach. And so, like, fresh, but it's like this pool. You go beach, and there's like a trench full of seawater, and then more beach, and then the ocean. And high tide would come in and fill this in. But anyway, during the day, you've done this. And because this trench pool was being warmed by the sun. It was actually really warm. You'd go through it, and it's quite warm. You sort of because it was deep, so you swim through that, more beach, and then out to the surf. And I thought, oh, I'm dying. I'm going to go out there, and I don't have to worry about drowning in the surf because that little pool is there, and I will go there. And so I'm staggering, and it's, all I've got is like moonlight, right? And so I can see where I'm going, but you can't see any detail, but you can sort of see where I'm going. Go down, and I find the pool and go, oh, I'm going to get this pool and I'll cool down and it'll be so good. And I put my foot in the water and the water goes like there's something in the water. And I was thinking, did the fucking tide bring something in? What the fuck? What was that? And also, because at this stage I was kind of conscious that I was hallucinating. But I was thinking, was that a hallucination? Was that real? And I don't know. I tried again, and I put my foot in the water again, and there was this. And oh, okay, what the fuck? Is that really? And I couldn't see anything. There was not enough light to see anything. I could just hear. And so I like grabbed a handful of sand and threw it at the water, and the sand goes, and then it is, and I was tripping fucking balls at this point. I'm just like, is that real? Am I imagining it? Is something going to eat me if I go in the water? Is it safe? And then I just stand, did the tide come in? What the fuck came in on the tide? What the fuck? And I couldn't bring myself to go in the water because it was freaking me out too much. And so I just went staggering back in the fucking campground again. And anyway, by morning, I'd largely recovered. Um, so it obviously wasn't too extreme a case of sunstroke. In the morning, I was kind of largely recovered. And I went down to the water with the Chuck's captivated by everything. I went down to the water and I went to really look at this little lagoon thing. Like, is there anything in there? And the fucking thing was full of white bait, like tiny little fish. And I saw someone catching some for bait for fishing. And then I realized this had been full of white bait during the day, but because there were so many people, so noisy, all the fish were running away hiding. And I was not going to hear any noise fish, and I didn't see them because I wasn't looking for them. But the next day, when I was looking for them, I could see them. And I was just like, oh my God, if I didn't know it was just white bait, I could have gotten the water and it would have been so good. But I just suffered the whole night, sweating and shaking and hallucinating like a fucking mutant. But anyway. Dogsaki, I don't like Labor anymore to vote for. Look, the election's a long way off. I hold out hope Labor will get their shit together before it. Like I said, they might end up fucking pushing me to the Greens. Um, I don't know. As I said, I'm in all honesty, I would have trouble imagining myself actively advocating for Labor at the moment. This is the thing. I'd advocate against the LNP, definitely. I wouldn't advocate in favour of them. And so by default, advocating against the LNP is advocating for Labor. But I can only see myself sort of advocating for Labor by default, not actively advocating, just saying like, okay, those other guys are actually worse, but I have no passion for Labor at this point. Maybe they'll get their shit together. I mean, I always thought Albanese was meant to be more sort of classic lefty Labor than Shorten was, but Albanese's been weak as fucking piss. So I'm hoping that turns around in the next couple of years, but we shall see. Yes, Miss Foxification, they have a lot of soul searching to do, and maybe they'll get their shit together and work out that no matter that they failed inexplicably in the last election, trying to be Liberal Party light is not it. Ha! Aussie Gun Bunny, what would happen if we voted on expertise instead of party preference? Well, see, the thing is, expertise in what? People think different things mean expertise. Not everyone agrees that the same thing means expertise. And look, parties exist because, originally parliaments were just like who could tolerate each other and, vote for people in leadership roles. Okay. And then people worked out like, ooh, 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 ooh. But if we like team up and say, like, okay, look, this bunch of us, instead of everyone being an island unto themselves, if we team up and say, look, we broadly agree on a bunch of shit. So if we back each other in votes, we will get what we want far more often. And that naturally evolved into political parties with formal structures. And political parties rise and fall, and things change, and alliances change. Nothing's permanent. Nothing lasts forever. But in socialism, there are no other parties. Depends on how socialism is administered, of course. The most extreme negatives being the Soviet system and communist China that violently repress anyone who is outside of the party. And that's not a system I agree with. I think people have to have a real democratic voice. Uh, every system has weaknesses, and I'm more in favor of the weaknesses of a democratic based system as opposed to the weaknesses of an autocracy. I mean, clearly, if I was supreme leader, everything would be awesome. I would do everything right and no one would be unhappy. But not everyone's as good as me. Not everyone's as good as me. So you get autocratic leaders, things go wrong. And I don't for a second think that any, modern democracy is flawless. They all have terrible problems. But I will favour the weaknesses of a democratic system over the weaknesses of an autocratic system. Aussie Gunman, you saying Minister of Health should be a doctor or nurse, Minister of Education be a teacher or principal? Looks it's fine in theory, but in practice, that sort of thing's just been undermined. So I think the American system's shit, honestly. I think the Australian system is considerably better than the American system. I think the American system is shit. It's got so many fucking problems. Oh god, misclassification. The Four Corners did a special on the Uyghurs in China. That's just been getting fucking worse. I mean, I first heard of the issue with Uyghurs. They're an ethnic minority from the area up towards Russia, and they are majority Muslim, which is unique in China. And I first heard um, uh, there was real issues with some of the manufacturing centers in China where Uyghurs had moved from their remote areas to try and get work, and they were exploited and marginalized and discriminated against really badly. And that's when I first heard of that. And it just seems to have gotten so much worse over the last couple of years to the point where apparently the Communist Party has re-education camps for the Muslims because religion's bad and they've got to indoctrinate them to just follow the party, not the religion. So yeah, like what Stalin did to Crimean Tatars, what Stalin did to fucking everyone. Stalin was just awful. But yeah, it's all messed up. Well, that's a cheery thought because I'm going to finish on. And I did see Loogie come in just now, just in time to say goodbye, Loogie. It being 10 o'clock, I think I'll go to bed. And thank all you wonderful people for spending time with me because it is, as always, a pleasure having time with you. Hey, in all probability, I will be live for a while tomorrow night with the wonderful Eva for another thing that the intention is to record it for a podcasty type thing. But yes, be spending an hour or so live with Eva talking about, who knows what, some very interesting topics. So, no, Adele, you still have a glass of wine. You'll have to neck it. That's the only Aussie thing to do at this point. So thank you one and all. You've been getting so much content from me at the hour with Aidsy on Sunday and then an hour with Brian last night and then 2 hours live tonight and an hour live tomorrow and I'll probably do a live stream on Thursday. Oh my God, so much angry on the internets. Yes. Anyway, take care, one and all. Look after yourselves. And I hope to see you again soon. But I will say bye for now. Oh, that makes me click twice.